thought I'll make a quick video on working with Illustrator and type, just in case you want to push some of those tutorials that I've got on the classroom a little bit further. So look, all that I've really done here is I went to, I just found a random name generator, like a band one, put in a bit of stuff, and it suggested a whole heap of different bands here. So, and I've just taken one and thrown it into Illustrator. So it's pretty random. So it's Roger and the Angry Wheel. And you can see, so the first thing I do is once I've got a bit of type like that, you might be use your name, or you might like to come up with a fictitious band, use the title of a song, or it's totally up to you, a phrase from a meme or anything. First thing I usually do is I'll just set the type and I'll start to work through the type. So we've got a couple of different sorts here. I've got a condensed sans serif type of font, which is a little bit specialized. I've got a slightly kind of rounded type of sans serif font here. I've pretty much gone for all sans serifs. I've got what we call a specialist type of font. Okay, and also I've got a really basic sans serif here as well. So yeah, by setting it into a few different ones, you can see how it works. One of the things that you'll note often is if you're using specialized type, that you may not have the ampersand available. So if I pop in the ampersand on this, it's not there. So I can have and, but I can't use the ampersand in this case unless I custom create it. But I might use that type a bit later on, but for the moment, just so you can see how to work with type, I'm going to take it down to just this basic kind of condensed sans serif type, and I don't really know where I'm going with it yet, but I'm going to do it probably just work with the letters, and then maybe set this specialist type underneath it as well. Okay, so we're just going to have a look at how we would work just starting to create a basic kind of logo out of a set of letters. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I've got that set as a piece of type at the moment. That's fine. And often also what I'll do is also set it in lowercase as well. Actually, this looks like it doesn't even have a lowercase, so we'll forget about that. But sometimes it's worth experimenting with that as you go along. So I'll just delete that bit of type there. I'll take these letter forms and I'll duplicate them up. So I usually just hold down Option and then drag to duplicate. That works really well. And we're going to go to type. And first thing that we're going to do is we're going to make sure that we've got that selected. Select our type, and we can just convert it to curves. Okay, so we're going to come down to create outlines. That's cool. And if we have a look at our type now, zoom in a little bit more, you'll see that we can no longer edit it, and it's actually individual curves. So the type above here, I can use my type tool and click on it, and I can still highlight and move type around, type it in. But this one, we can't do that because we've converted the curves. But that'll be beneficial for us. So what I'm going to do is ungroup. So I can go Shift-Command-G and do that twice. And now I can select letters individually, which is super handy. And it means then that I can start to move them around and, you know, get them working. So I usually copy that one again. So I've always got kind of a bit of type that I can work from. And often what I'll do is just start to like look at what can I do with the letters. Is there a way that I can start to make them work, just roughly? Doesn't matter if they don't match up too much for starters, but we can just kind of get a feel for maybe we can condense down the letters and start to make them work. You know, sometimes you can flip letters. I can flip this R. We can start to kind of make something a little bit more interesting out of it. You know, and it might become quite abstract as well as we work along. You know, you don't need to know where you're going. This ampersand is quite weird, and it reads quite strangely, so it doesn't really read that well backwards. So yeah, you'll just need to make a call on that one if things are looking good. But the A and the W, that seems to be working pretty well. I'm not sure about the reverse R at the moment, but we can deal with that. Okay, I might even pop this into a vertical letter block, see how it works. Not very well at the moment. I'll bring that and back down. See if there's any possibilities there where things start to cross over. There's not a lot. Okay, so it's going to depend on all your letter forms. So that's okay. Yeah, I think we can start to make something work there. Remember that we're making a pure logo. It doesn't really matter how it reads too much. Okay, that's cool. Okay, so how are we going to deal with this from here? What I'm going to do is, now that I've got this in curves, we can start to use the pathfinder tool. So what I'm going to do is draw. I want to get rid of this part of the R for the moment. So I'm going to cut this away. So I'm going to draw a box over the top. Now it doesn't matter what colour this is. I'll set this in a colour just for starters. And what I'll do is I'll select both of these parts. And I've got this tool called the Pathfinder tool here, okay? And what we can do is we can break these apart, or we can use a minus front. Okay, I'll use a minus front. The first thing you can see here, it's broken, it's cut away, that section of our letter, and we're just left with what was sitting at the front. So I could start to set this in here. That's cool. And so I might leave that line there. But we've got a few other kinds of tricky bits with this. We can see that these don't really line up perfectly, but I'd like them to line up better. So what I can actually do with a letter form like this is I can go in using my white pointer tool up here, direct selector, and I can start to move this down a little bit so that they line up. And then I could say take the end of this one, and I might move it along. That's cool. So it starts to, these start to match up a little bit. I'm going to zoom in. Oops. I zoomed in a little bit too aggressively there. I've got this quite small at the moment. I might actually push it up in size a bit to work with it. That's good. It's good if you're working things at a reasonable size. I'm just working on an A4 page because strokes will be a little bit more fine-tunable. That's a bit better. Okay, that's good. Okay, so I'm going to just keep selecting parts of this, and I'm going to select around here. That's cool, and I'm just going to start to move that up a little bit, get a little bit level. Oops, I've moved it in a touch as well. That's close enough, and then I'll just make sure that this comes down, something like that. Okay, so that's pretty good. And then, so we might then take this form. We might even push it over here. And let's just get a nice little spacing. Yeah, so there's just in this case, I'll just have a little bit of spacing between the and the AW. That's cool. I might actually just push it up a touch more. Let's zoom in and have a look. That's cool. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this one, this letter, and what I'm going to do, first I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to take the B, I'm going to make sure it's at the front by going Object, Arrange, bring to front. Okay, can help if we change the color again so we can just see that it is on the front. It is. Okay, so what I'm going to do then is I'm going to take my A and my B, select both of those, and I'm going to go minus front. Okay, and you can see it's chopped a bit of a hole into our letter. I'm going to go Shift Command V to paste that letter I copied straight back into where we got it from, and I'm going to start just to move it away a little bit, and you can see there we've got just a little bit of a cutout. That's not too bad. Let's rearrange it. Whoa. Just rearrange these letters just a touch. Okay, that's cool. Okay, so we can then maybe take that B. We might just colour that red. I'll bring up my palette, click on the red. That'll do us just for starters. We'll put a better colour on it, but I'm just using the red as a contrast colour. And then I'm going to, so this A and W, we can make that work together. But what I might do is cleave off part of this W so that we've got something to work with. So normal old trick, grab my square. I'm just going to draw over the top. And so again, I'll select that top, I'll colour it just so you can see it. And select those two parts, minus front. Okay, so let's chop that off our W. And then we can move it in. Straight in like that, and then that joins them, or puts them together so they look like one unit. Okay, so we're breaking things apart, but in this case we're going to join them together. So I'm going to take the A form and I'm going to take our W form, and I'm going to use the first one of these, the unite command. Click on that, and you can, what it's done is now join these into a single object. So if I click on them and set a colour, you can see now that I change one and it changes both of those. Excuse me. So that can be a really good way to go. And we could do that. Maybe we're going to join parts of these as well, just for a bit of fun. But it might make breaking them apart a bit trickier later. We'll see. Okay, so let's just start to colour these. Okay, and we're starting to build up kind of a basic logo form here, and we might later on decide we're also going to have a bit of text that sits below that. Often you have like a specialised bit of text, and then you have a really boring font below it. Maybe we're going to go backwards with this one, and we're going to have our kind of specialist font below it and some kind of like logo above it. Okay, so we can sort of experiment with the balance of that a little bit. Okay, so so we've got that happening. We're not really set on the colours. I've just got some placeholder colours on it at the moment. So usually what I'll do then, I'll push that up over there, that's cool, and I'll make a copy of that and I'll bring it down. And we'll start to have a look at some options, excuse me, with the letter forms themselves. So sometimes we might take something like this, I'll group it, I'll copy it, and we might, just really quickly to see how it looks, we might take a stroke and we'll start to put, say, a heavy black on that. Sometimes you'll find a letter form will push out this like kind of like sharp point. So we can change that under our stroke settings. We can round our stroke settings. That can be a good way to go. And there's also a mitre limit here. Down further, which we can check out as well. But we won't worry. We'll put rounded corners on, okay? So that's got our black. So I copied that set before, so I'm going to go Shift Command V again to paste our letter form on the top. This time, I might put a stroke on it again. So let's put, say, 7-point stroke. but I'll change the stroke to white. Oops, so just swap those over. Sorry about that. And we'll change that. Okay, so we can change by having this on top of it. We can just start to change. We're looking really just for how thick that black is. And then we can paste on once more. And then that starts to give us a bit of an outline. Okay, so what's happening here? This is looking a little bit too chunky. So let's just, I've got the white selected. I'm going to start to pull it down so the line works a bit smaller. And then I'm going to move the black behind, just using my keyboard. And I can bring that down as well. So I can start to refine the look of that key line. I can have it ultra chunky, have it sitting right out there, or I can take it right down to really fine. So this is something you want to experiment with. It's often good to see just where these letter forms start to appear in the outline, so it makes things just often a little bit more interesting. Okay, so that's not too bad for starters. So I've got myself that kind of setup using a thick key line. I might copy this again and push it across. And then let's have a look at other things that we might do. We might have a look at reversing this out of a circle. Sometimes that's a good way to go. So I've created a circle. Command Shift square bracket is send to back, or you can go Object Arrange send to back. Let's put a color on this circle. Okay, that's the key line. We don't want that. That's actually what we want. Okay, so that's quite interesting. Actually, looks alright. Let me just muck about with scaling that a little bit. Okay, so that's not coming up too bad, surprisingly. I'm going to just maybe push this type down. I might colour the type, so I'll take the black and let's put a white in that. We might set that there, okay, and we need to just, it's a bit unbalanced. It's got like a big hole up here, it's got a, it's not quite sitting right yet. So we need to just find the balance with this at the moment. That's a bit more like it. And we can sort of set that in there. It's looking a bit like a corporate font at the moment as opposed to a band font, but that's okay. That's okay. Alright, let's have a look at scaling this out. Seeing what we can do with it. Maybe it fits in just a little bit better. Okay. So it actually looks better when we start to set it over the top of our other text. That's good. Okay, so we'll take those elements. Maybe. Yeah. Maybe the whole thing looks good if we rotate it. Let's have a look. Not really. It looks bad. But we're not too far off getting something out of this. We've got a few problems with maybe the colour selection. It is looking a bit, I don't know, it's not quite working for us. So let's have a look. You usually want a good concept for your colour palette. At the moment I've got these brights here. Maybe we just change to some gradients. And sometimes that can be enough. We've got a bit of a problem there. Ooh, red and pink looks pretty ugly in that case. A little bit of a problem in that, yeah, the text isn't reversing out that nicely. It's not too bad. Let's go backwards. That blue's not too bad. Okay, so we're kind of starting to get somewhere with our logo now. And it's not perfect. Needs a little bit more decoration. So often, you know, corporate logos tend to look really sparse, whereas band logos tend to look a little bit more complex and interesting. What are we going to get here? Maybe we need... What do we got? Images. Do we need some classic rock imagery? Maybe we do. Maybe we do. We'll try illustration. Okay. Okay, what do we got here? I don't know. Maybe that's a bit cliched. I don't know. What's something else that's a bit interesting that we could work with? Maybe a skeleton is a bit more interesting than a skull, you know? They're a bit more fun. Oh, here we go. Look at this. This is a bit more fun. So let's have a look at this. Okay, so I'm going to copy this image. Our skeleton drinking some coffee. It's got a bit more personality. I'm going to paste it in. Yeah, it comes in really big. That's cool. I'll shrink it down a little bit. That's a bit more fun. And so what am I going to do? I'm going to use it to build a bit of texture with. But I'm going to have a look at my image trace tool. Okay. Let's get rid of our stroke tool here. Let's get rid of this tool. I always use these floating palettes, but I don't know if I really like them. Okay, so I've just got this set up as a standard black and white, and you can see it's traced over the top. And also what I'm going to do is go ignore white in this case. Okay, so there'll be no, this drawing now will be just made up of pure blacks and no whites. So I'm going to go object, and what I'll do is I'll just go expand, object and fill, that's cool. And now it's become, you know, the drawing is done and it's cool. So what that means is we can come along to this and we can start to zoom in and we can start to shrink this down a little bit, and we can use this skeleton shape for a bit of texture. So at the moment we can't really see what's going on, but over the top of this black, what I'll do is I'll come up, I can choose like a grey tone, and you can see here that I can start setting this grey tone over the top of the black. So again, I'll go command square bracket, sending it to the back piece by piece so that it's set into the back like this. I'm kind of using it for this ornate texture. Whoa, that's not cool. We'll try shrinking down our coffee drinker a bit. That's cool.
That's lucky white.
Okay, that is okay. We might be able to come up with something a bit more interesting in the colour department for this. Yeah, that's not good. That orange and black, maybe. I don't know. There's a lot of colours I'm starting to have to balance here. It's making life a little bit trickier. Let me just have a bit more of a scroll through some colours here. This is a bit of tricky stuff. That's not too bad. That's a kind of dark look. Okay, so this is going to get a little bit more complicated. So we're going to do a cutout of this skeleton. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy in place. Oh, well, I'm going to copy it. And I'm going to keep that handy. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go Object, Clipping Mask, Compound Path Release, Group. Okay, that's cool. So we've started to get a bit of a fill around this, but we need to fill in all this area around here so that we can make a bit more of a shape. So I am going to, whoop, that's cool. I'm going to draw around this. I usually just use my pen tool. I'll just snap it round, being pretty sort of lazy really. But what I want to do, is I want to create a solid area so that we can reverse that skull out of the top of our logo. So let me just come around, pop that through there. But I want to not leave any white as I go along. Okay, so you can see I'm going around here and I'm just covering this all in. You can use the paintbrush to do this. There's a few other tools, but I don't know, this is just the way I've always done it. I'll join that back up again and I've got that nice patch there. That's cool. Let's go back out again. The coffee cup's not too bad, so everything's looking okay. Let's just move that out of the way. Whoa. I'll just grab all my logo. I'm just going to move that out of the way for a little bit. Okay, that's cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm also going to copy. I'm going to duplicate that circle. Okay, so I'm going to select all of this, except for that. There's a few tricks. Yeah, this is going to be a bit tricky. Here we go. So I select all of that, and that's okay. So I'm going to make sure I haven't got my circle selected, which I haven't, and I'm going to weld all that together into a single thing. That's cool. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add a stroke onto this. Nice and big and chunky. I'm going to have a look at the colour of that. Make it black. Look at that. We've got this little problem here with our stroke. So I'm going to come down to stroke. I'm going to have a look at the miter limit on this, and I'm going to take it down to like 1. See that? Got rid of that pointy bit up there. That's cool. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I am going to go to the stroke. I'm going to go Object, Path, Outline Stroke. That's cool. So that creates a solid out of that stroke. And then I'm going to take all this stuff. Am I? Not yet, I'm not. I just got to have a think about this for a sec. I'm obviously doing this on the fly. Okay. That's cool. So what I've got to do then is I've got to take all this. Oops. I've got to take all this skull and the circle. Deselect the circle. That's cool. And now I'm going to weld all that together with the Unite. I might give it a colour so I can see it. Yeah, we're running out of time. I'll speed through this bit. And I'll get rid of this bit. And so what we can do now is I'm going to select that and the circle, and I'm going to chop them apart using the difference. Thanks everyone.
Not that bad.
And then object expand. Okay, I'm going to expand that, and then I'm going to be able to, means I can chop away bits that are hanging out of my artwork that I don't want. Okay, then I can take everything here, I can weld it together. Nice one. Thank you. Yeah, just pop it down there. That's cool. And then I can see ya. Have a great weekend, everybody. And then I'm just going to pop this in here. Get rid of that key line. See ya. And then I'm going to paste in that skeleton, and you can see that now it's fitting within that shape that we created. So then all we're really going to do.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you. I'm going to bring that to the front. See ya. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to copy, and I'm going to select my skeleton. I'm going to go Object, Clipping Mask, and make. Hey, look, and then we've got our skeleton fitting in within that shape that we created. We can paste a copy of that to the front, and then send it to the back, so it gives us a kind of interesting shape. And that is bringing our logo together. So then we can bring all this back together. It's getting a little bit better. Okay, and I'm going to bring it to the front. And we're getting there, okay? We've still got a ways to go, but you can see that the logo is starting to come together with a little bit more complexity. We've got to sort out our colours. We need to start adding some key lines onto this, but we're going in the right direction. That font could be maybe a bit more serify, a bit more gothic to get things going, but yeah, we're on track. So what I'm going to do now, I know it's been a long haul, I'm just going to hit stop